What are the signs of fearful avoidance in the early stages of dating? Okay. So before we dive into the signs of fearful avoidant behavior, sometimes called disorganized attachment in early dating, I just want to offer a little compassion for both sides of this dynamic, because if you're watching this segment, you might be the one experiencing the push-pull, maybe feeling confused, hurt, and unsure of where you stand. Or you may be someone who identifies with these patterns yourself. Maybe you have felt overwhelmed by intimacy even when you truly care about someone. Maybe you have pulled away from closeness without really understanding why you felt like you had to pull away. Either way, I just want to reiterate that this is a judgment-free zone. And that's really important because fearful avoidant or disorganized attachment often stems from really painful early life experiences. And it's not a personality flaw. It is a nervous system response. It's a way that the mind and body learned to survive a world where love and safety did not go hand in hand, where your sources of comfort were also a source of threat. And so it's a pattern where someone deeply craves love and connection, but also fears it. And so they probably grew up in environments where caregivers were both the source of inconsistent love and affection, where emotional intimacy was predictably unpredictable, overwhelming, and unsafe. So as adults, this creates a kind of internal push-pull. So come closer, I need you, but wait, go away, I don't trust this. And it's confusing, not just for the person that is dating them, but for the fearful avoidant person themselves. So when we talk about these signs in early dating, it's not about blaming or labeling people. It is about understanding the relational nervous system at work and how we can stay grounded, clear, and kind, both to ourselves and to another person, when we see these patterns starting to pop up. Because healing starts with awareness, and awareness gives us a choice. So let's circle back to the original question. There was a little more detail that was provided. It felt like he was really into me, texting every day, opening up, wanting to see me. Then, as soon as I started to feel hopeful, he pulled away. He still pops back in, but it's never consistent. It's confusing, and honestly, it's messing with my self-esteem. What is going on? Okay. So, thank you for your honesty. You know, that disorienting experience is what we aim to unpack in this segment, because understanding the pattern behind it can really help us to make all the difference. Okay. So for today, I'm going to get into 3 key signs of fearful avoidant or disorganized attachment that can show up in the early phases of dating. And the first one is we can have a fast-moving emotional connection, maybe even love bombing, and then it's followed by a kind of sudden turnabout or withdrawal. Or there could be hot and cold communication that leaves you feeling confused and guessing. And thirdly, there can be a mix of longing and fear, both within the fearful avoidant partner, and then that stimulates the longing and fear within yourself. So let's dig into each of these 3 elements. The first one, intense connection followed by withdrawal. So our fearful avoidant, what I call spice of lifers, they crave connection. They do. They crave it very deeply. So at the start, it may feel like a dream. They are open, they are very expressive, oftentimes charismatic. They can even display vulnerability. They want to spend time with you, maybe even ask really deep questions so you feel close to them very quickly. And they might even be the ones to initiate the intimacy early on. But just as you start to relax into that closeness, something shifts almost inexplicably. Then it's as if they retreat. They are second guessing. They become distant or distracted. And it's not necessarily about you, it's about the unfolding layers of intimacy and how that starts to make things feel unsafe because it is stirring up these old wounds, the fears of being abandoned, of being engulfed, of being controlled or manipulated or otherwise hurt in some way. And so it's usually not a lack of care, it's about a lack of safety and closeness. And while that means that their behavior may not be personal, it still impacts you. And that is where self-advocacy and standing your ground with healthy boundaries becomes absolutely essential. And when you do that, it can shift the dynamic regardless of how emotionally confused they might be. Because you cannot be confused enough to encourage someone else out of their confusion. So do not wait for them to set the tone. In the face of their confusion, you will find clarity. And the more that you articulate that clarity, the clearer they must respond to you. Okay? So understanding this push-pull isn't really about excusing behavior, it's about reclaiming your power in the face of it and advocating for yourself based on the impact of their behavior on you. Secondly, we have that hot and cold behavior. That's that classic push-pull dynamic. They reach out, you feel hopeful, and then they ghost you or they get super ambivalent and vague. Just when you start to give up, now they show up again with charm and sweetness, and maybe even trying to act like nothing happened. And that is because as you started to pull away, the proximity felt safer again. And so now that made them want to close it. It's that push-pull, wanting but not trusting. And so their nervous system may read closeness as danger and as reward, just as much as it might read distance as danger and as safety. And it happens cyclically, kind of over and over again. And because of that, and because it's usually intermittent kind of schedule, it can become very addictive. So these are partners that you have a kind of learned to hate to love and love to hate. So you want to ask yourself, am I actually connecting with them or just craving the version of them that shows up every once in a while? Am I grounded when I'm with them, or am I constantly scanning for signs of closeness or distance, like walking on eggshells? So that inconsistency is a sign of their unresolved attachment fears and trauma, which doesn't make them undesirable. It doesn't make them wrong. It just highlights where they are on their path. But it can point to your own, wherever your own nervous system is getting caught up in living out their early traumas. Okay. The third thing, longing for love but being afraid of it. This is really the heartbreaking experience that a lot of fearful avoidant or disorganized folks have, is that deep down they really do want love and they're very lovable. They're not really cold at their core. They're not incapable. In fact, they can usually have a deep sensitivity to the human condition, which is why I call them spice of lifers. But love often feels unsafe because they confuse empathy with enmeshment. So they wind up oscillating back and forth, wanting love and then fearing it at the same time. And this is why you might feel drawn in and then suddenly pushed out. And if you do have any unhealed wounds, especially around feeling like you've gone unseen or unchosen, that dynamic can be especially triggering. But we could also look at this as an invitation to ask, what part of me feels rejected or abandoned when they pull away? What am I hoping that this person will give me that I'm not yet giving to myself? And if I continue to pursue someone that is inconsistent and rejects me, how am I showing up inconsistently for myself? How does that mean I'm still rejecting myself? Because often when we feel intense energy around them, it's usually either grief over a part of ourselves that we have projected onto them, or it's a projection that they have sent over into us, and now we are carrying it for them and living out, reliving to revise that wound and so on, something like that. So to recap this, 3 signs of fearful, avoidant, or disorganized attachment in dating. Number 1, fast emotional intimacy followed by a sudden withdrawal. They crave closeness, but when it starts to get real, the fear response, attachment triggers kick in. Number 2, hot and cold behavior that tends to keep you guessing. The inconsistency is a reflection of that internal conflict, but not necessarily a lack of care. And number 3, we have that deep longing for love mixed with a fear of getting hurt. And so their actions may not be personal, but they still impact you. So healthy boundaries and self-advocacy are really key. And I also want to reassure you that fearful avoidant or disorganized spice of lifers, they can and do heal. And I know because I was fearful avoidant for a very long time. And so for years, 35 years in fact, I carried both this desperate longing for closeness and a deep fear of losing myself in it. I would crave that deep connection and then I'd pull away just when it was within reach. Or my feelings would turn off like a light switch. Why did I even like this person to begin with? And for a long time, I thought I was just too much, not enough, or somehow too damaged to have a healthy relationship. But everything started to shift when I stopped trying to fix myself from the outside and find validation outside of myself. And I started to connecting to something deeper inside of myself. And so for me, it was through creativity and connecting to my body that the tides began to turn. It was through, I'm an art therapist by trade, so it was through art and movement and doing things differently, shifting my focus. It also took 3 years of celibacy and not allowing myself to turn my energy in that direction, instead started moving it up this way, that I really started to find a doorway to what I call soul-centered security, but it is access to transcendent experiences. And that afforded me a sense of safety that didn't come from someone else, not even from my secure husband now, although he does provide a lot of security for me. It came from being fully present in my body, connected to my entire range of emotion, and knowing and trusting that I belong to something bigger than myself, to a divine spark that lives in each and every one of us. And that's what really helped me to build this better relationship with myself and all my parts, all my inner children, all my protectors, so that I could show up to a healthy relationship with someone else and to a healthy relationship with my life in and of itself. So if you're someone who has struggled with fearful avoidant patterns, believe me when I tell you, your nervous system is not irreparably damaged. Your desire for love in your life is a divine calling, and your healing is simply a process of relaxing into the love that you already are and will always have access to. So if you are in connection with someone who shows these signs, to you, I would let you know that your clarity, your boundaries, and your self-trust is going to guide you towards what is right for you, whether they're able to meet you there or not, because no amount of pushing, persuading, or trying to inspire them to be where they are not, if they are not ready, isn't going to help. Okay? The best thing you can do is show up with the best of your intentions. You can knock on the door, but they need to open it up and let you in. Okay? So let me know in the comments, have you noticed signs of fearful avoidance in yourself? Maybe in someone you have dated? And if so, what has helped you find more clarity and compassion in your relationships? I would love to know that.
Also, remember to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. I put out videos once a week and I wouldn't want you to miss out.